offering the morning after pill for just $4.99, a fraction on what it typically costs over the counter.
Critics say that the cheaper price may encourage bulk buying and regular use, which is against doctors' guidelines.
Well, joining us is blogger Caroline Farrow, who is against this, and alongside her is our health editor, Dr. Hilary Jones. So, Caroline, making something which avoids an unwanted pregnancy cheaper, why is that not a good thing?
Well, it's, as you said, so the morning after pill is not designed for frequent use. It plays havoc on your natural menstrual cycle, and there are concerns that, you know, people could perhaps stockpile it. When we look at the reviews that came out, there's been some serious case reviews following the Rotherham grooming gang and the various sort of rapes that's been going on. And what that highlighted was that young people who were in a situation where they were being sort of sexually abused weren't getting the sort of health intervention that they needed. You know, they were just being given the morning after pill, and actually they needed some sort of intervention. And I think as well, you know, there are some other studies that show that regular use of the easier that you make the morning after pill to access for young people, say in the pharmacies and what have you, actually that's having no impact on unwanted pregnancy rates, but there is a correlation with sexually transmitted infections. So it's not actually having the effect that I think people would like it to have.
Is the worry then, Hilary, that if it is this available, then the people that will sort of choose it as their form of contraception won't be taking the care, as Caroline was saying, to protect themselves in other ways?
Well, any medication can be abused, but we're not talking about it being abused, we're talking about it being used appropriately. I would always favour an online consultation before this is dispensed. However, I do think emergency contraception, and I use the word emergency deliberately, because it should be taken just for emergencies, not routinely, as Caroline correctly says. I think if it's affordable, that's a good thing, because there are lots of unplanned pregnancies that happen because women can't afford to buy it at £25, £35. At £5 they could.
If it suddenly becomes £4.99 or £5, then surely that can become something that's not going to be used just in an emergency because it's there and it's on tap.
Not if it comes with information and knowledge and guidance, and that's how it should come.
Is the concern, Hilary, that we already know that we offer information and knowledge about how to not get pregnant, and people aren't taking it on board, and those that are vulnerable, as Caroline says, it's one less check.
But we can't
it's one
make
fewer person to actually step in if you take away the barriers to getting access to it.
We need the face-to-face consultation that comes with it. I think that's important. However, it works best when it's taken straight away, and certainly within the first 72 hours. Now, you can't wait for a GP appointment these days. You're not going to get it in time. You want to go and see the pharmacist, who can take you to a private room, have a confidential consultation, and tell you the downs as well as the ups, you know, the pros and cons, so that you know that. Now, I don't think it should be given out 3 prescriptions in 6 months, because that's every other month. It needs to be rarely taken. Now, for a woman who's in a stable relationship, whose barrier method fails for whatever reason, of course it should be available to her and available in her cupboard straight away. She's not at risk of getting an STI because she's overusing it. A woman who's forgotten to take the pill for 2 or 3 days, of course she should be able to use it straight away. So whilst there are downsides, we need to make sure that they don't happen by giving more information and guidance.
Yeah, because, Caroline, what we don't want is young girls or anyone who doesn't want to have a baby finding themselves having a baby simply because they couldn't afford to take a method which would have prevented it.
Yeah, and I think you also have to remember as well, I mean, I'll be honest, one of the issues that lots of people do have with the morning after pill is one of the ways in which it works is that it stops the it stops the fertilised ovum from implanting. And so if you believe that life starts at conception, that can be quite problematic. But I think generally, people tend to conflate. Boots got into a lot of trouble because they said, we don't want to encourage regular use of this. And people conflated medical judgment with a moral judgment. So saying that you shouldn't use this regularly is not saying you're a bad person if you use the morning after pill. It's saying, hang on a minute, we need to exercise restraint. And one of the very frustrating things, I think, in this debate is that, you know, and I think probably Hilary would agree, we tend to asked people to exercise moderation when it comes to eating habits, to exercise. Clearly, if you are using the morning after pill sort of 3 times in 6 months, which is the limit that this online chemist say they're going to use, something is going wrong, something is going awry. And also, I'd be wary about an online consultation because people can just lie, can't they? Because they need it quickly. And there are some conditions which do contraindicate, use of the pill.
But I think both of you sort of talk on the same lines. It's really important you get the right information before you take it. Hilary, just one more thing, if we may. On the front of the Mirror, particularly, and in a couple of the newspapers, this story that 1 million NHS staff are asking for a 3.9% pay rise. The government lifted the pay cap, the 1% pay cap, on public sector workers, and we know that they've offered more than that to police and to prison staff. What do you make about this, a 3.9% pay war potentially?
Well, thank God there's a pay rise because the crisis in the NHS is very severe. I've just spent 4 full days with paramedics, with nurses, with midwives, and the London Air Ambulance crews, and the work they do is just phenomenal. And the fact that people are leaving the profession because they can't afford to stay in it, people are retiring early because of low morale. This is a step in the right direction. If it was me, I'd give them far more than that. But of course they need to be rewarded for the fantastic work they do, and I think the public know what fantastic work they do as well.
OK, that's Hilary Jones and also Caroline Farrow. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. It's 6:43. You're watching Good Morning Britain now.